Now recording. Okay, I'm so excited to do this, and let's just give a round of applause actually for Jeannie Martin, because she was saying that she wanted to do booths. Isabel, will you shut my door? She was wanting to do booths, and Mark and Jen and Andrew and I were all together at the Blue and Presidential Summit a couple weeks ago, and they were talking about how they had rocked it at booths, and I don't think that I had ever put that together. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to get you in touch with these people that I love that are really great at this. And Mark was like, hey, should we just turn it into a training for your team? And I was like, oh my gosh, even better. So thanks, Jeannie, for that, and everybody for jumping on today, but a special thanks to Mark and Jen for being willing to share their brilliance with us. So for those of you, let me actually just, I'm sure everybody knows who I am. I hope anyways. My name's Christy Fexer. I'm at the head of the Inspiring Wellness team. And Mark and Jen are in our upline. So they are also Blue Diamonds in doTERRA. They are phenomenal. I actually posted up a video on the builders page that they had done, I don't know, maybe a week or so ago, about they had a goal to hit 100 diamonds on their team. And they just hit their goal. So we're all celebrating with them on this huge milestone and achievement. I can't wait to be at that point in my business. It's really exciting. So, okay, Mark and Jen, kind of the format that I was hoping to go through today is, I would love for you just to kind of introduce yourselves. Let everybody know kind of who you are. Oh, let me just say, these two are a powerhouse couple. They are amazing working this business together. And the homeschool. And Jen, you're on baby number 8 or 9?
This is 9.
This is 9. Okay, that's what I was thinking. I think that it's number 9. Okay, baby number 9. They have a big, beautiful family, and they still do doTERRA successfully. So that is definitely not something to hold you back. Okay, so back to the agenda, the format. I get easily sidetracked. Just introduce yourselves and then give your tips for doing booths. And then I'd like to open it up for a Q&A for, about 15 minutes or so at the end, so that I know that people are probably going to have some more questions. So I'm just going to turn it over to you and mute myself and eat my lunch.
Let me start by saying we are all about duplication, but that does not carry over to the number of children that we're encouraging people to have. Everybody can choose their own path in that regard. We're excited to have a big family. And we're also excited to have a big doTERRA family. So thank you for the opportunity to visit with you. And for those of you who listen to this recording in the future, I think most of you we probably don't know and probably haven't met. Hopefully that changes in the future, but we are thrilled to be on here and grateful to the Fexers for creating an awesome platform for us and their ongoing leadership and commitment, the blessing that relationship has been to us, and the gift they are as being one of those 100 diamonds and above that has helped us to realize our dream and our goal of people being liberated and empowered through this, and people finding the leader within. That's something we're very passionate about.
So we've got, Christy, one more thing, and I'll look for your nod. So we want to do 15 minutes of tips and then 15 minutes Q&A. Is that right on timing, or more or less?
I'm not attached to the timing necessarily, just as much time as it takes for you guys to get the information out that you want. I'm not set on keeping this to 30 minutes unless that's what you guys need.
We just get carried away sometimes, so we have to rein ourselves in on the timing.
We did a call last night that we didn't do a very good job of, so I'm trying to repent and do better. So good.
Go with it. You're good. I'm not really concerned. Jeannie actually asked me, how long is the call going to be? And I said, as long as it takes for them to give you the information that they have and for you to be able to ask them questions. So if you guys need to keep it to a time frame, you dictate that. I'm good with whatever.
Awesome. We'll focus on keeping it salient and the right pieces and getting them out there. This really is a fun topic for us because our introduction really can step into some of the booth pieces, because that really has woven itself through our doTERRA story. And the main reason for that is because as we got introduced to doTERRA, we were too scared to talk to friends and family. We were chicken and not as brave as some of you. And so we're like, well, let's talk to strangers. So how can we get in front of some strangers? Because the worst thing that can happen is that you're never going to see them again. So that's a good place to get training and a good place to see how people feel about these weird oil things. Because we were starting when doTERRA was not what it is today. It was not a billion-dollar company. It was a very new idea to people. And we've never been in network marketing before. We'd never used essential oils or a ton of natural things to any huge degree. And so we were kind of babies on all fronts. And so for us, that really served. We did enroll in 2008 with Natalie Goddard. We were already best friends with them before doTERRA. And they shared some oils with us. And Mark was actually the one that decided to buy them and bring them home. And as soon as he did, I said, will you sell half these back to her? Like, we can't afford these. What are you doing? And it's so embarrassing now looking back at our beginnings of doTERRA, because it's like, wow, that's like shoot the golden goose, right? Like, I just couldn't see it for what it was. And my husband just had more vision. But he was like, I also think it could be an answer to some of the questions that we've been asking, things that we've been looking for to create a different reality for us.
And the truth is, as we got started, it was more just, hey, let's see what they do for our family, because we were a little bit skeptical about the oils, going on basically trust of Natalie at that point, saying, okay, we'll take a look at these. And using our children as guinea pigs and saying, you know, do these really work? Do these do something? Because we didn't have much context from either our upbringing that they would of natural health care. So we were excited to find there actually were answers, and then we bumbled along. We kind of treated it like a hobby, and it was like, you know, hey Jen, hold a few classes, maybe I'll get online. I've got this email list of 10,000 names I'll send out to. 20 responded to get samples.
Spamming. We should just call it what it was.
Yeah, I was spamming people, and that really works well.
People love that.
So one of those 20 who got sampled ended up signing up. I was trying to create a shortcut. I was trying to get past the idea of creating relationships, and it was just like, hey, if I can just sign people up. Well, there's a price to be paid. There was a price to be paid in our personal development, in who and what we were, because at that point we were not showing up as diamond leaders in the way that we were going about things. We were treating it like a hobby.
And so it was paying us like a hobby.
At the same time, Natalie was setting a great example for us about like getting out there, talking to people, having conversations, and we saw what she was doing. And it was like, oh wow, like she's getting some traction with this. She had clarity that we didn't, and that became a fire that over time lit our fire. But it took us about 9 months before business. And we also started to see that, hey, maybe this is an answer to some of the questions that we had about what is possible and what can we create. And as Jen mentioned, we were too scared to talk to friends and family. I mean, yay us. That kind of tells you where we were operating at the time. So that low-hanging fruit that most people go to, we were not really targeting that. And we said, you know, yeah, but we can talk to strangers. Let's try that and see where we go from there. And so then it became, let's treat it like a business, and let's map out consistently what we can do, not just like hit and miss. Maybe we'll try this and see how it goes, but like we got a pattern where it's like basically every month that summer of 2009 we had a booth set up, and we were just creating some consistency, some steadiness. And this wasn't something, I'll point out, Natalie had done. She didn't have a reference to doing booths, so she couldn't really guide us on this. So it was just like, hey, we're just going to figure it out. We're going to step in there. We're going to do it. And this is what we needed to do to take our step into becoming more leaders and owning the leader within a little bit more.
So what do you think we say when people say, oh, my warm market's gone, I've talked to everybody I know? How do you think we respond?
Or how do I find people to talk to? That's a common question that gets asked, right? How do I find people to talk to? Well, my question to that is, how committed are you? because there are people all around us, and literally people that have been found in every scenario. On a plane, at a grocery store, next door neighbor, friend, stranger, wherever. So the question is, where do you want to go? Where can you make connections? And
where
for
can
us,
you have conversations?
yeah. And for us, that was, well, let's go talk to strangers. So that was something that became more clear. And then lo and behold, as we're getting clear within ourselves and setting this out, Chelsea Stevens says, hey, you need a leader? I'll be a leader. She's your upline.
She was one that we shared with during that 9 month of dabbling. And lo and behold, she never wanted to do anything with us. I can't think of why, right? Like, we're not showing up super bright. We lay out this business plan in May. Lo and behold, in June, like, she's just seeing us show up differently, right? We're starting to do booths. We're kind of treating it like a business. And lo and behold, she's like, oh, they're doing something. Maybe I do want to enroll. Maybe I do want to do this. And not only do I want to get oils, but I want to build because I have somebody to build with. And it was like, why didn't she say that in November or February? Because there wasn't anything to join. There wasn't anything to be a part of. And so it's a powerful piece of, we find that leader in ourselves first, and that's when we start finding other leaders, because that really is what the business is, isn't it? That it's like, you get 3 leaders, then you're going to start getting paid. Prior to that, it's the valley of death. Like, it is very hard to have Doterra. It's volunteer work. It's very hard to get paid when you don't have 3 leaders to build Power of 3, to start building towards those leadership ranks. And so it's this part where you're just hanging on and hoping and believing and not knowing if it really can work, or if it does work, or if you'll be able to crack the code. Like, it's that tricky space of, and that's where we were at, where these booths were there in that wondering moment where we have no money to invest in Doterra. We're saying, hey, Natalie, we found this booth. We can trade them an introductory trio, lavender, lemon, peppermint, and they'll give us a booth space. There's this other booth. They want $50. My parents live in that city, so we'll just register through them so we can get their discounted $50 instead of $150. Natalie, this booth's $200. Can you help us to help cover the booth? And you, it worked. Like, it just was a great path.
And here's a fundamental principle that I really want you to connect on. If we are showing up as employees thinking that the answers are outside of ourselves and we just need to be told what to do, then we will be successful. We are going to struggle to attract other people, because we're basically walking around with a Bic lighter trying to light people up versus a torch. When we start to find the leader in ourselves and start to own that and embrace that, we show up brighter. It's easier to light people up from that reference point. But if we're waiting around to be spoon-fed, tell me what to do, how do I do this, we get entrapped and we get stuck. And we wonder why we're not successful, why we aren't inspiring people, why we aren't helping other people to believe and fostering their belief in any significant way. The leader is within each one of us, and we have to find that leader so that we can be a fire to light other people up. So critical to understand that. And the more you ask yourself, how can I be that leader? How can I be that one? How can I learn? How can I be teachable so I can step up into that space that I need to step up into to be that one? How can I receive the feedback of the experience that I'm having so that I can learn from it and adapt? The failures that are a necessary part of that growth. As I take all that in, these are all invitations to step up, step up, step up. And sometimes we want to operate down here and think that we're going to get different results just as we continue to hang on or continue to show up on calls or continue to gather information. That the answer. We've seen that again and again. Christy talked about our 100 diamonds. That has been our calling card, our trumpet to our team is find the leader within yourself. It is, the answers are not outside of you. And the more you see that, the more you're going to inspire and build belief, which then in turn translates into other people taking action. And then they get affirmed and they find the leader within, and then it becomes this beautiful thing. Over time, it becomes 100 diamonds and more. And it's an exciting piece. Sorry, a little bit of a side note there, but I have to kind of plug that in the context of what we're talking about here.
So to wrap up our introduction piece, we enrolled in August of 08, we got clear in May of 09 and started and laid out our first business plan, treating it like more of a business. Lo and behold, our first leader, Chelsea, comes along in June. Natalie sees that we're moving, places our second leader under us, Danny and Ryan Smith, under us sometime in that summer. It was John and Kendra Bodine, and then later Danny Smith, who was under them. And then we had another third leader that wasn't the right one, but was doing something for a little while. And then we found at a booth, lo and behold, in August, they didn't enroll till October, our third leader. And then because that third leader was particularly ready to go, they took a place of an existing leader, so they already had a little bit of place to start. We had our 3 leaders, and then we had some magic, right? So by that December of 2009, we hit gold with those 3 leaders, and we had our 1,500 bonus. And so for us, that was not quite enough to cover our expenses, but we kind of said, hey, if we have both of us actually putting our time into this, let's have you come home and let's go for it. And we'll go for it for 4 or 5 months and see if we can wait till your income's already replacing your income or whatever. And I'm sure that's the right path for a lot of people. For us, we were like, we already have the right leaders to run with. We just need a little more time. And so we had Mark come home in January of 2010. And then since we I like the applause, Christy, and then
we were scraping by.
We were totally scraping by.
We had low expenses,
Our
and
cars
so
were paid off.
we were struggling to the point of getting some assistance, and it was just like, how can we bridge this and get it rolling enough? How can we create the momentum that we need where we can get over this hump, right? And it was scary, and it was like, really, maybe in a few months we could do that. I don't know, but because we were both on it, it wasn't me coming home and watching the kids. It wasn't me coming home and managing the back office. It was both of us engaged, moving it forward.
Doing impact things.
And that was part of our vision of what we were creating, co-creating in this. That was part of our path. That may not be your path, but you will likely, as you move forward, have team members who are looking to figure that out and looking to go that way. Well, we can at least be a reference point for you in that regard. So again, going back to doing boosts, that was us getting clear, us standing as leaders, and we didn't know what we were doing. So we get out there and we just start sharing. We're getting lists of names of people at the booths, thinking we're so excited. We got a list of names. Now we're off to the races. Unfortunately, what happens after the booth?
For some reason, people didn't always call me back. For some reason, people didn't always pick up their phone, even though we had this great connection at the booth. We're hugging as we're leaving, and then nothing. And all of a sudden I realized, oh, my goal at booths is not to get a list of names. I may only have one conversation with these people about oils, and it's while they're there at the booth. So I need to learn how to make that more effective and take it further. And so we identified a couple pieces. And just to be clear, to not leave you hanging on that story, he came home in January, we hit platinum in April, we hit diamond in July, and that was definitely more than replacing his income. That was almost doubling it at that point. So it was a big curve that year of our income of 2010, but it worked, and he's been home ever since, and that's dreamy. That's why we've had 5 children since he's been home. Like, it's just been sweet. And it's why I feel like I have capacity to do that, because like that was my dream, but it's like, how do you do that? But when your husband's home and you have partnering there, and when you have finances that help support with some of the pieces that don't require me, whether it's laundry or house or whatever, and somebody else covers that. So I just do the pieces that are essential in doTERRA and the pieces that are essential with my children. It's been a gift. So that's kind of who we are and how we got there. And those booths really, they gave us that third leader for sure, but also several leaders that we placed under the other leaders that became a big part of our organization. In fact, I don't know, we need to do the math of how many of our 100 diamonds have come through a line of somebody we got from a booth. But if I was estimating, I would say 60. Is that too high? Maybe. At least half of our 100 diamonds came from somebody who founded a booth, who found somebody. Does that make sense?
Now, again, just to be crystal clear on this, this was our path. This was a way. The approach is multi-pronged. This is not the only way. Clearly, you can look across the Doterra landscape and look at top leaders who have never done a booth, right? This just is a way. So to understand that, and again, what's underlying it all, where they see us moving forward with our torch, and they're saying, I want a piece of that. I want a part of that, because we have created this vision of what our life will look like, of what we want to create, what we want it to be, spiritually, mentally first, and then we're about it. We're moving towards that vision, and other people are catching their own fire, and everybody has their own mountaintop that they're creating. Like I said, not everybody's having 9 kids. Not everybody's having a husband they want to have home. Like, you get to decide what that looks like. It's about living your dream, whatever that is. It's about finding your mission and purpose and fulfillment through this, which is what we were about and what we wanted to do through this. So booths became a critical part of that. Now, as we mentioned, we fell on our face getting started with them. We totally, what you would say, did them wrong. We did them ineffectively at first. And then we learned. We looked in the mirror. We took feedback from what was happening, and we adapted and adjusted our approach. So now it's, what can we create in this moment? First and foremost, can we enroll people on the spot? Well, yes, we can. If we create a connection of trust with them, if we sit down with them, if we identify their concerns and create a space for them where they see the value, we can enroll on the spot. Well, what if not that? Then we can sell them an oil. Well, what if not that? Maybe we can give them a sample. What if not that? Maybe we can set up a personal appointment with them, maybe offer them an aroma touch as part of that appointment, or maybe just a personal visit with them. And then
10-minute wellness consult, and we'll talk about what oils you need, and I'll send you samples of what those specifics would be. And I'm just individualizing all these conversations. I'm just thinking, in what scenario would they take a step forward? What's their button? What helped them move forward? Because I know they need the oils because they have a body.
And they just don't know what they don't know. So we got to figure out the bridge between that, right?
And my job is only to help them see that they need oils. And so for each person, that's going to be individualized. And so I'm seeking to kind of hone the skill of how to read people, how to listen. I'm asking a ton of questions during these, if someone's there at a booth. I'm not giving them my spiel or handing them this sheet of a class and going through it with them. I'm saying, hey, have you experienced essential oils before? Okay, what have you tried? Oh, what did you like about that? And just kind of building on what they know. Or I'm saying, hey, what kind of health issues go down for you or people in your family? What's high on your radar? Because if I sit there and be like, oh, lavender's amazing, it totally helps my kids rest and sleep at night, and they're like, yeah, my kids hit the pillow and they're out.
Or I don't have
that
kids.
Isn't an issue to me, right? Like, so, but if I can say, hey, what kind of issues do you have? Oh, my daughter has asthma. And I'm like, oh, put your hands out. Let me put some Breathe and lime in it. Okay, inhale. And she's like, oh, man. And she's like, come here, little child with asthma. And she rubs it right under their nose. Like, it's so fun when you speak to what their issue is, because I'm just trying to make a connection. And I was like, gosh, can you put oils on people that you've never met before? Yeah. And this time when we were doing booths, you had to get people's social security for everybody, because everybody was a wellness advocate at the time. We didn't have wholesale customer. And so I'm having people I just met get introduced to oils, sign up, give me their social security number to a stranger at a booth, and move forward. And it's like, wow, like, how do you do that? And you do it by making a powerful enough connection of, you need this, here's how you get this. And let's move forward. I invite you to take action and try something new. And again, it took us a minute. But what's cool about booths, and why for us it was such a good training ground, is because I see booths as like college education, right? We invest in that. And so maybe I'm investing in a booth and I bomb it, but okay, that was $250 towards that college say have 2 conversations a day to continue getting the word out. Who's up for 27? Let's do a half-day booth and get 27 conversations in a day. By the 26th, I'm doing a little better. Like I'm knowing what works and I'm knowing what doesn't work. And I remember some things where I'd have people walk away and I'm like, oh, did I just say that? Like so many things where it's like, oh man, but it's so great because it isn't my neighbor that I'm going to see again tomorrow. And it isn't my dad. And it isn't, it's just somebody that you're not going to see again. So it was such a good training ground. And so we found it to be useful for us to perhaps speed our learning curve of cracking some of the code of what's effective for us in conversation, as well as we would bring team members along. So Chelsea chooses in. We already have booths set up that month, and we're like, hey, come, let's go. Let's both learn together. So we have used booths as even just team training, let alone enrollments and realizing that it's not just getting people connected to oils, it's looking for leaders at booths. And that's a different conversation. That's different things you're bringing up. Like, that's different eyes. Sometimes at a booth, Mark will be like, hey, go talk to her. Or, hey, look, I just met this other lady, this other booth. She's solid. Go powwow with her. And just building relationships and kind of keeping eyes and glasses for that. You want to say something?
Yeah, just a point within that, as Jen was talking about how to make the connection. And this is not specific to booths. But just remember, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use them in proportion. Listen. Ask questions, seek to understand, help people to feel heard. Again, not specific to a booth. In any scenario that you're in, that's a good rule of thumb to help make a connection with people, and then to be able to say, do I truly have answers for them? And can I authentically share those solutions relative to what I'm hearing? Great aspect of building back what people say, just making sure that they are feeling heard and understood. That puts us in a position to have influence and to be able to help people, invite people to take a step. And again, just to reiterate what Jen said, bringing partners in is a great training ground where somebody might not be doing a good job having a lot of conversations, might be scared. Come to a booth. Let's get some conversations going. Then you can see us modeling conversations. You can be having your own conversations. You can mess up. You can learn. You can figure things out. It creates a great context for being able to train our team members independent of anybody we find at the booth. And what happens when we went to our booths, we were like, whoa, we really do have answers for people. This stuff really matters. Like, this is cool. Like, there are people who have needs that we can address with what we have. And we weren't experts in the oils. We didn't know it all. We're still not. And we kind of pride ourselves in the simplicity of what we are doing, and just saying, hey, the answers are out there. They may not be from us, but you can find them if you care enough. And just understanding as we approached it that, as Christy just typed, yeah, confidence grows as we have those experiences and we start to see ourselves in a different light as somebody who can help people, bless people's lives, provide answers. So that was us personally, and then we're bringing our team members in and they're having the same experience of having their confidence grow. So really valuable. And some booths stunk. Again, some booths we didn't do approach very well, and some booths just don't have traffic. And so you go there and you're just hanging out and you're like, booths aren't that a wide taste of what they might look like. I know Brianna Coles, who Chelsea Stevens found and is the Fexers upline. She just got locked in with the booth here annually, where she just was like, I'm your girl. I'm just going to get it set up. And she was just plugging her team into that booth, giving them that exposure. And I thought, whoa, that was some forward thinking on her part that we didn't really have as much, as far as like, hey, let's just lock that down annually because I'm committed. I'm going to be here. And we're going to keep moving through this, whether it's me at the booth or whether it's inviting a team member to step up into that. We've got this space available.
I think my last piece, at least I want to share before we go into question piece, is to be clear, people I'm enrolling on the spot at booths, always 20 minutes or more. It's not a one and done. It's a, hey, it's the power of the chairs sitting back behind the table. It's like, oh, they're interested. Hey, come sit back here with me. Let's get some oils on you. Let's really talk. And I'm watching people walk by my booth. Hopefully I have more people manning it with me so other people are still at the front. But I'm just there seeking to connect and find somebody who's really ready. The enrollments are sit down, take a minute enrollments. And some of the sweetest things at booth have had nothing to do with enrollment. Sweet older man with memory issues, and his wife is like, I don't want anything, I'm not buying anything. And I'm like, okay, can I just put some frankincense on the back of his neck? And I'm rubbing the back of his neck, and I'm kind of holding this little spot, holding the back of his neck and holding his forehead, and I'm just like, it's kind of hard sometimes, isn't it? And he just starts to cry, and like, that's my favorite booth experience of all time, is this sweet old man that I'm fairly confident isn't on the planet anymore, that I've never met again. But it's just like, can I just take care of you for a second? Like, you're walking by me and I'm not comfortable with you keeping walking when I have something that will really support you in this moment, in this day. And then lo and behold, we realize how much that helps. So when Mark's dad gets in the same position, we know what oils to use to support him in the same way. To create some TLC. So booths have been very satisfying for me. From a lot of different standpoints, let alone results.
So what are we doing? We're connecting and we're creating an experience. Again, not specific to a booth, right? But we're creating an experience. Well, how do we create an experience? Oftentimes it's something with peppermint. We're getting one of those oils with peppermint to create an experience where people go, wow, that got my attention.
Because some oils are wow oils. On guard, if you have a sore throat, it's a wow oil. But if it's not a sore throat, if it's just boosts your immune system, there's no wow happening in that instance. So we want to grab deep blue rub. We want a peppermint bead that we want wild orange. We want something that's going to give them an altered experience in that moment. So wow oils are what I set out in the front of my booth.
So we're thinking about that in terms of helping to make that connection, because that's gonna bring people in and help them perhaps take their reference to another level right then and there, right? Initially, again, one of our fails was, hey, let's take everything we can because we don't know what they're going to need or not need. So let's just bring a truckload of stuff down to the booth and, we'll figure it out what we actually need there. You can do a booth with some main, like family physician kit type oils, your peppermint based oils, and a diffuser. We like having a diffuser out there. You want to find maybe some kind of power source that you can plug into, maybe that's portable, that you can manage so you don't get charged $50 to plug into power at whatever booth you're doing.
So you just have a little solar box.
So then what are we doing? We're diffusing citrus bliss. We're diffusing wild orange, something that gets people's attention as they pass by and they're like, whoa, that smells good. Forms, we've got some papers to take notes as we're talking to people as follow-up reference points, like, oh, this person wondered about this or had questions about this. But it's really relatively simple. We've got some books in the back. We've got all our oils in the back as a reference, but we're going to keep it fairly simple in the front because we don't want people to get overwhelmed with having too much to look at, too many choices. We might put out things like, do you deal with this, headaches, asthma, sleeplessness, well, and we're not saying the oils help these things directly per se, but we're just putting questions out, right? Just to spark people and, oh yeah, I deal with that. Initially we thought, hey, let's put some water out with oil in it as another exposure point. That didn't work really well. People didn't really respond to that, so we just dropped that. We thought we needed to do things that were a little bit gimmicky, where it's like, hey, if we'll give you a drawing, maybe we can get information. And we realized, you know what? People who are serious will give you their information without any gimmicks.
And I don't want twice as many, 4 times as many leads. I only want the people that want. So I'm saying, hey, if you want to stay connected, let's get your information and we'll set up our one-on-one, or we'll set up a talk for this week, or what, like I'm saying, what you're writing down on this paper, what my to-do list is. What can I do for you? Do you want me to let you know about classes? Are you wanting to set up a one-on-one? Like, That's the only reason they're putting their information down is this is my homework sheet.
So maybe the sheet says name, maybe it says city they live in, phone number, email, and then we had check boxes that we added in that said, interested in learning more about the oils, interested in hosting a class, interested in the business opportunity. And then they just self-select in those check boxes and it some different, potential ways to go with this. And then they self-select again with that checkbox. So that's another reference point. But again, that can be kind of after the fact, and some of that stuff just drops through the cracks and you get frustrated feeling like one of those people trying to chase people down. So again, first and foremost, what can we create in the moment? How can we create the quality versus the quantity in our approach to what we're doing? So yeah, so that's the gist of it. A couple other clerical things. You can register your booth with Doterra, just in case there's somebody else who ends up having a booth there. Then you can call Doterra and say, hey, I was registered with you through customer service or whatever arm of Doterra that is at this point. You want to really clarify with the person setting it up. I want to make sure I'm the only Doterra booth here.
But sometimes people will have a different thing they're signing up for, and they'll split their booth and they'll do jams, and then they'll also do some Doterra.
They'll just throw Doterra
on the
side.
They're not allowed to, so that's where it's nice to say, hey, you know what, we're registered with Doterra. You need to take that part of your thing down, or you can even go to the
you let the event people set that up.
So that's nice.
How do you get traffic to your booth? How are you promoting it? What's your history with this booth in terms of the number of people that are coming through? Just kind of asking some good find out questions. Then when we're setting it up, we're making sure that we're really clear with the people that we are going to be working with if we're inviting in team members in terms of how leads will be delved out, because somebody may talk to somebody initially, then they may come back and talk to somebody else. And so how does that get handled? And so the more you can kind of think about scenarios in advance and get clear on what that's going to look like and how you're going to handle things, the better. And be you can. Try not to make drama out of situations like that. But again, those are things you'll learn as you go and as you're doing it.
One piece too.
And keep them cheap. Do them cheap first.
Yeah.
Don't spend a lot of money. A lot of money doesn't equate to a lot of leads. So
especially if you don't know how to do it very well yet.
Get experience.
Start cheap.
Get your feet wet. Try things out that are simple and less expensive.
We've never done a booth personally that has cost more than
a few $100s.
$250.
So
I know there's grand $1,000 booths out there and whatever. It's just too, like I've never needed to. $250 has been.
And not to say there may be an opportunity. We have a very quiet, timid leader up in Washington who basically built her business by doing booths. And she signed up for a 21-day fair that cost her $3,000, but it was 21 days. Huge in time investment. I was worried about her getting into that in terms of what that would require of her. But she worked it out and created a foundation for building her business to diamond. So, just different levels of commitment, different things you can create. And feel free to check in with us and use us as a sounding board to ask questions in the future. But right here, right now, does anybody have any questions relative to booths, how to be effective, what we've learned doing them?
Awesome. Gosh, that was so great. I have notes. So I just want to say before we open it up into questions, I loved what you guys said about quality versus quantity. I think that so many people go to a booth, and think, I need everybody here. I need all their names so I can follow up with them later. But I love the focus on, I want this to be profitable, and I want it to be worth my time, and I want it to be worth the people who are actually giving me their information as well. And so taking that time to create those relationships, I just think is so amazing, which also obviously speaks to your guys' strengths. So for those of you who don't follow Strength Finders or know what it is, we will be diving into that a little bit more this year. But Jen and Mark's strengths fall into the relationship category. And so it makes sense that they would be able to go into these types of situations and create those relationships. But I also loved what Mark said about 2 ears, 1 mouth, that when you're listening and asking questions and finding solutions for somebody else, it makes you an influencer. It gives you the ability to influence them because they feel heard, they feel cared about, they feel loved, they feel like you're actually listening to them versus, hey, give me your information, I'll follow up with you later. I have a bunch of other people to go talk to, right? Like if you're making it about them, that's really valuable. So I love that you touched on the money thing. That was something that I had in my notes, but also I would love to have you guys expand upon selling retail at a booth, because I know that there are some people who like blow thousands of dollars or maybe invest thousands of dollars depending on what they're able to do with it. And they just retail from their booth instead of getting enrollments.
Yeah, that's never been a focus of ours, just because we know the big story with Doterra is getting enrollments, getting people on board. In fact, to a booth, product-wise, we typically bring maybe, what do they sell them in, 6-packs of the introductory trios?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll buy a 6-pack of those to have some on hand, and we'll usually just sell them like at cost to get started. Like, hey, try, just get some oils in your hand, whatever. I'm not worried about if you got $20 in your pocket. Super, let's get you started on something.
And maybe you have a few family physician kits.
And family physician kits, I would say for sure have to enroll. But we would have
few
1 or 2
books, and if you can identify something in that moment where you say, if you enroll or do something today, I'm going to give you this, to create a little urgency in that moment. That's a
or
great.
saying, I have 3 kits, you know, if you want to save shipping, if you're doing a booth out of the area or whatever, like, great. Like, so it's nice to have a couple, but typically I have 1 family physician kit open, because that's a very easy kit to sell at a booth, especially when you're giving somebody a 0 to hero conversation, right? Often it takes multiple touches to get somebody enrolled in oils. So if they've never heard about oils, and the odds of them getting a $500 kit are a little bit less, but a $150 kit, it's like, especially when you're saying, here's our sample kit, why don't you give it a try? There's 85 drops of those main oils. So family physician kit is more of what I'm pushing at that. We've enrolled huge leaders with family physician kits. And we for sure enrolled people with small oils kit. I think we sold like 2 diamond kits, like whatever. But like, those all take more time. And I don't have that. And I just want to get them some oils in their hands.
And maybe in your mind's eye, you're just thinking, hey, we're going to be friends.
Yeah.
And you're seeing the person that way, in that light.
To get oils.
People feel that. People feel that connection. People are drawn to that. And in some ways, it's us that they're buying, right? And if we understand that and we stand with that torch, that's where we have traction and connection that roots with people and within ourselves. So, sorry.
Just my goal really is, I've got my little wagon that I pull, or a little rolling suitcase, and I've got pretty much everything in that. 2 banners over my shoulder. If I have a tent or a table, that's a separate trip. But my goal is 1 trip of everything for my booth. Because if it's easy for me, then I'll keep doing it. If it's really hard, then it's going to be like, oh, I have another booth coming up. Like, I just have it in the closet. I grab it and go.
Yeah, banners are another piece from a visibility standpoint that we have.
And you can talk to different upline members who have them. You can just borrow, so you don't need to buy them.
Perhaps, or you just buy one for $100, $150, and just have that be part of investing in your business.
Buy them with some of your organization.
Yeah. So, what else did you hear? What else? I'd love to have other people chime in. What are you hearing? Thank you, Christy.
What did you hear that stuck out to you or stood out to you?
You falling asleep?
Don't be shy, you guys. You have brilliance sitting here. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to sit here and pick you guys' brain. So please speak up.
I love to hear the finding the leader within yourself, because just recently, within the last few months, started to notice her. And it's just getting to be an interesting part of the journey to actually see that leader, because it's been probably 15 years since I was in a job where I had any type of a leader role and had completely lost that leader. had become just an employee, just another employee. And I have to admit that it is definitely nice to see that leader. And I'm looking forward to building that leader now, and finding leaders to build with me. So that's been awesome to hear you say that. It was just very reinforcing.
I'm inspired.
I love it. Thank you.
Excellent. Jeannie.
How many people do you usually have at the booths with you? Because I'm looking at doing a really large scale event where there's several thousand people go through over the event, and it's like anywhere from a 3 to 5 day event, and I have 6 of them this year.
Yeah, it totally depends on the size of the booth, right? So you're kind of gauging by that. What you're talking about there, I would say, you probably got times of day that might be higher traffic that you want to find out about and think about in terms of flow, because some parts of the day generally are not as heavy traffic.
Or weekends or whatever. It's like, hey, on Saturday, let's book more people on Saturday. Friday night, book more people.
Yeah.
Daytimes, you're going to need less, let alone the traffic flow of that specific booth. But it's always, I never do even the tiniest booth without 2 people. You just need somebody to stay with the stuff while you go grab more for the car, or so you can do a bathroom break. Like, you for sure want 2. And then
probably 4 or 5, I would say, in your particular scenario. And also to just have flexibility within that, where it's like, hey, maybe we go there and maybe we say, hey, if there's not a lot of traffic, maybe somebody goes home, right? And that's no big deal. So that's part of just learning as you go, in regards to what works for you and what you connect. But it's nice to have a few there to give you some flexibility. As far as enrolling on the spot, we tend to have forms instead of a computer. We just go home and put it on the computer after the fact. Again, just simplicity, not having to worry about that power and keeping a computer up and running. Yeah, I'm glad you heard the part about creating an experience, again, not specific to a booth. And having a chair in the back where you can sit down with somebody and maybe give them an aroma touch hand technique. And opening line might be something as simple as, have you used essential oils? Have you experienced essential oils? And you can have fun with that too, right? Like, hey, I need to talk to you, or whatever's comfortable for you, just to be able to engage somebody. One thing I thought or made a mistake early on about was, oh, the people who are interested will talk to me. That is not true. Sometimes, again, people just don't know what they don't know, and so just finding a way you can break the ice or make it connect with people in a way that's authentic for you. Could I share some oils with you? Have you heard of essential oils? Have you used?
Sorry, hang on. We have background on, so I muted somebody, and I was trying to mute everybody, and I just muted you guys. Hold up.
You're great.
Okay, you're back on. Sorry.
So keeping them sticking around is just where it's personal, right? You're being personable with them. You're being engaging with them in a way that they're saying, hey, this is worth my while. This is worth taking a minute. You've got my attention. And just reflecting back on that, asking questions, listening to them, helping them to feel heard creates that space where they tend to hang around.
And I'm just kind of individualizing it. It's like, hey, you look like you're tired and need to sit down for a minute. Or I see that there are kids running around, and I'll have a bunch of little bubble things at my table that I'll be like, hey, you kids want to play bubbles for a minute so I can talk to your mom? Like, I'm just trying to be ready for whatever scenario. So I can be like, okay, she's got a very short window of time. Let's put up a time right now so that we can talk when you're not in the booth. I know you're wanting to keep moving. Like, I'm just trying to gauge if they're ready to move, if they want to sit down, and you're just kind of individualizing that and offering that piece that way. We're trying to read all your questions.
And as far as finding booths, that's just like, hey, we knew about 30 days that went on in our area where different cities would designated through the spring and summer months. We plugged into those. It was like, hey, we homeschool. Let's go to this homeschool conference. Women or family related shows, yoga, natural healing type things.
Any kind of health related has been awesome.
Yeah, you can really
autism or diabetes, like we've done this gamut.
And it kind of doesn't matter. Again, it's kind of like, hey, I kind of am interested in this area, or this is something that speaks to me. Well, that probably will be a good fit for you for connecting with people, because there are a lot of people out there that value what we have. So you can do online searches for booths for sure. And as far as do we promote once signed up with the booth, not really. Just the booth organizer is the one promoting the booth.
We just promote people to come do it with us.
Yeah, promoting people to join us from our team and helping to create a space for them to be a part of that. And maybe having them buy into it a little bit, where they pay a little bit of money to be a part of the booth, so they have skin in the game, as opposed to giving out freebies. Sometimes that doesn't work out when people don't have any skin in the game.
And where's Monica?
So Monica, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I know for me personally, and just from some of the comments, that the follow-up is difficult. You know, they don't answer, they never get back to you.
Yeah.
So for those of you for the people that you don't connect with at the booth, or they don't enroll, can you offer some tips on the follow-up with them? You know, do you set it up with them at that time? Do you say, you know, just what are your tips with that?
Yeah. So whatever you can do to set up something individualized for them right then and there, a follow-up connection appointment is great.
Here's when we'll talk again. Get out your phone. I've got my phone, day and time.
We thought like, here's multiple class dates you can come to. That wasn't enough. It didn't have enough traction. You know, it might work out, but you just don't. Life happens. People forget what they were feeling in that moment, so we
They're
use them.
They're not prioritizing the oils yet. They're not latched onto them enough. So it's very nice to be like, okay, I have 5 slots for this class or whatever. Do you want one of them? Great. Let me know if you're not going to be one of them, because I want to keep, you know, I want to keep it at this size. Some of that's been helpful. Another piece that's huge with follow-up, I'm so glad you asked this question, because this is a big thing to not remember. Remember that sheet that we told you guys about with the different check boxes and whatever? On the back of it, it was blank. And so we would flip it over, and after I talked to somebody, again, even if other people are walking by me, I would sit there and I'd be like, okay, she talked about her daughter who has this health issue. She talked about this. She lives in this area. She was a nurse. Like, I'm just writing details so when I do follow up, I can be specific. And they're like, oh, she remembers me. She knows me. Because again, having whatever kind of connection you will, later all you're going to have is their paper, and I won't remember who they are from looking at their name. So it helps me and it helps them too. So I'm like following up, texting, hey, did the Serenity sample you tried work on your daughter? And I'm writing down, I sampled her Serenity. I put Deep Blue on her shoulders. I did this for her allergies. Did it help as you continued walking around the booths? What was your experience the rest of the day with your allergies? Like, I'm just making it super specific and individual.
Personal to them.
And that has worked way, way better. And if I don't take time to write the note and I just start talking to somebody else, then I'm sabotaging the last conversation I had, because I won't remember the specifics. And
I would also say, like, to some degree, and this might be a block for us, so, you know, take it for what it's worth, but just low expectations. If we don't have a clear point of follow-up with people, we just have low expectations of getting back with them. What might that look like? Probably trying to text them first to re-engage them. Hey, can we set up a time to talk? Or, you know, that specific piece of, you know, that oil they used and their experience with it. And seeing if you can get something from that. If you can't get a response from a few text attempts, then maybe you call them and see if they answer. And again, this is where it's like, how persistent do you want to be? I'm not going to leave a message the first time. Maybe I'll call again at a different time of the day. And maybe you do that 2 or 3 times, and the final time you leave a voicemail and you say, hey, I'd love to talk with you. I'm not going to hound you. I know we had a really great connection at the booth, but, you know, if you can text me back or
I'll say, are you still interested, or are you
voicemail me?
Are you no longer interested? Like, I'm trying to give them an out, because it's like, I want to either cross them off my list or move them onto a different list. And it's for me and them. And sometimes they're like, oh, I don't want to say no. And it's like, please say no. If you don't want to stay connected, if you're not interested any longer, like, let us both find out, and let's move let's move forward on that. And something that helps too, because sometimes it can be like, oh, so much rejection, or all these names, or that never called me back. Like sometimes I'd be like, hey, when I get 20 no's, I'm going to Cafe Rio. Like, here's my prize. And I'd call people and they wouldn't give me a no, and I'd be like, dang it, she said maybe, and oh, she wants to come to the class. I wanted my 16th no. Like, whatever you need to do, because guess what? When your job is just to expose people to the oils, it's not necessarily to sign them up, make them the next big Blue Diamond Christy Fexter leader. Like, your job is just to expose them to oils. Then great, my job's done. My job was to send the follow-up text. Their response doesn't have to do with my job being done or not. And that's a huge piece, especially with group follow-up, because it can be so discouraging, because it's been really hard for us to even get the follow-up to have traction, Monica. Like,
yeah, and this is somewhere where it may not be a strength of ours. Like Bonnie commenting about, getting people to attend a class. That's great. Being able to make those connections. Like Christy and Andrew might have some suggestions of, hey, here's how you can set up a drip campaign where you plug their email in and they're just getting followed up on with little friendly emails that are going out. We haven't done that. That hasn't been a strength of ours. And so you might get some traction with something like that may be fairly easy to set up, and just plug people into the little campaign, follow-up campaign. And sometimes people will go, oh yeah, now I'm ready. Now I'm interested, when they weren't right off the bat or whatever with the follow-up. So different approaches, and part of that's just, figuring out what's a fit for you and where your energy lies, and putting your best foot forward that way. So
anything further on that, Monica?
I think that was helpful. Thank you.
We might give out some samples, but again, if we can sell them, even better, even if we were selling them for cheap, just because then they're actually buying something.
Just because then they'll value it more. But I can't tell you how many times I'd give them a sample and I'd call them and follow up, hey, did you use the oils? And she's like, oh, it's still at the bottom of my purse somewhere. But if they pay $1 for the oil, they're totally way more likely to actually use it, right? So sometimes it's like, how do I create some kind of value exchange? I don't care about the $1 for the A to Z guide, or I don't care about the $1 for the deep blue sample, even though that's how much it costs me. Often I'll say how much the sample is worth, just so it's like, okay, this has value. This is $2 worth of whatever. I'm happy to give it to you if you'll use it. Like, you're just trying to figure out how to make it so it's something that will actually matter. And I don't want to just throw out stuff, because I've done that. We used to have samples sitting out in a box. It was like, yeah, come take one.
It's like a black hole. Like, you're not. So
like,
if you can use it as a traction point.
I'm just giving them out samples. Like,
so similar things. Some booths will say like, hey, we have a goodie bag we're going to hand out to our people that are coming through. Do you want to put something in the goodie bag? Well, yeah, I want to put my business card, and I'm going to staple on a deep blue sample. Passive or not? The more passive we are in approach, the less likely we are to get results. So we haven't done that, and generally we discourage other team members from throwing product out that way. Use something like, maybe you put a card in there and say, come visit me at my booth and get a free aroma touch hand technique, or something where it makes them come to you. It creates a connection point. But again, that can be a little gimmicky, so you just have to figure out what works for you.
That just reminded me, when you have a booth that lets you do some stage time to do any kind of, they have seminars every 30 minutes.
Huge value.
That bumps up everything huge. I did a booth in Washington last year, and they let me have a little stage time. And at the end of my thing, I was like, hey, whoever wants to come up to our booth and say this, oils are awesome or whatever, then we're going to give you a free sample. They swarmed our booth after I spoke, because I went up there and I did a little mini class, and it was totally 10 minutes, maybe 15. I was breastfeeding my baby in the backpack with my cover on, like somebody else is going to do it. And she's like, hey, will you just do it? I'm chickening out. And I'm like, sure. So I'm on stage feeding my baby, giving them a basic oils class, making it up as I go, like, yeah, come to our booth, say this, and you'll get a free sample. I really made it up on the fly, and it worked really well, because people that I had already talked to, other booth people who were other vendors that I'd worked on, and I was like, oh, I can't get through the door with them. Because I was up on stage and talking more about it, those people that said no to me came up to me and said, well, when you were talking, it really stood out to me about this. And I was like, dude, first of all, you were at the mic, so apparently you look more know-how, who knows what it was. But I'm not looking professional. I'm feeding my baby, but whatever. Fortunately, it was a Mother's Day booth, so I figured I was just doing the part. But it's funny, even babies, like being pregnant or babies, which apparently has been what I do during my doTERRA experience, there's so many people that get drawn to me with a baby on their back. Like, it's just conversation piece. It's been a great tool. So if there's a way to do a talking piece, or even have them announce something about your booth, that creates a lot of traction. So that's a good booth. I would look for a booth with the talking space.
Yeah, and so that's a space where you're actually giving kind of a mini presentation of some sort. At the booth, it's about making connections, making it personal. So you're not like, I've got this script that I'm doing at my booth. It's I'm making a connection with people, and I'm identifying in what scenario will this person take action right now. So there's a little bit of a distinction between that stage time and what that looks like versus the personal connection in a booth.
That is so awesome. Wow. So much great information. I mean, it's funny to hear you guys talk about doing booths, because so much of what you have said is like kind of what our approach was with webinars. You know, it was, I didn't want to talk to my people either. I was much more comfortable talking to strangers than I was to my family. And that was, you know, honestly, my family wasn't interested at that point. It was just kind of like one of those weird things that I was like doing, I guess. And so it did boost my confidence in being able to talk to strangers. So I love that. Did you talk, and I missed it, somebody had asked how you find booths that you want to do. Do you just search areas? Did you talk about that?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
And just to echo what you're saying there, Christy, like, find the underlying principles of effectiveness of what works. That's what you want to find, because they will translate into whatever way you're going about your business. If you find the principles of success and you employ them for you know, relationship building, finding the leader within, I would say, are key principles that you want to understand about your approach. And it's across the board. It translates across the board, regardless of how you're going about what you're doing. And just to reiterate, finding booths, you can do Google searches. You may know of some that are going around. You may get connected with a event organizer that's plugged into booths or sets up booths. Sometimes we've had people do booths in businesses where it's like, hey, I'm going to come in during lunch and I'm going to do some mini presentations with people during lunch. So, I mean, there's all different creative ways in which booths can be utilized or employed for you.
Excellent. I love that. Okay, well, we've hit an hour. I want to value your guys' time and honor it. So if anybody else has questions, post it up in the builders group and we'll get you some answers. But I just thank you guys so much for joining us and for answering all these questions and sharing your experiences and wisdom with us. It's super helpful, and my brain is cranking on doing booths. That's really a fun idea, which I've totally been closed off to before. So maybe Andrew will join me in that, and we can go take over the world there.
They're a fun way to stretch, and they do take a little stretch, you know, getting yourself out there that way, and that was how it was for us, for sure. And
yeah.
Hey, Christy, you can come out and help me with my boots.
Hey, Jeannie, there you go. That's a fun idea.
It actually is a lot of what my travel to go support my team is, because I'm a little bit of a booth junkie. Because it's a good training ground. It's a great way to get them moving. So it's often starting a new area or a new leader. It's like, hey, let's get some booths in your area. We'll come out. We'll do some other classes as well. But I prefer to go out to a new area when they have a booth. So exactly what you're talking about.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you guys again. I am so grateful. Are you guys going to be in Punta Cana next week?
You know it.
Yes.
Dominican Republic, here we come.
Okay, then I will see you guys next week.
Right on. And please, again, everybody else know, like, we're part of your support team. Feel free to connect to us, ask us questions. We'll give what we can. You're fortunate to be in a line of strong leaders with the Fexers, the Coles, and the Stevens, but we're part of it too, and we're grateful for you and what you are doing to to grow, to become self-actualized through this experience, and to bless other people's lives. And it does take work, and it is the road less traveled, and we get that. And it's amazing. And we wholly endorse you taking it to the next level and look forward to celebrating your success moving forward.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. I might have to have you guys come back on a how to ask questions, because you guys are amazing at asking questions of people. We might have to get some volunteers and have you grill them, because it's incredible to watch what you guys do with questions, and it's a little intimidating also to be on the receiving end of those questions.
So let's just put it in a public forum, right?
Pretty much.
We'd be happy to get back on in whatever context. Thank you for the opportunity today.
That would be fun. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.